In this video, we are looking at the practice exercise for compare and contrast. I also want to show you how to do a Venn diagram on this page, but let's do the questions first. Actually, I want to do the Venn diagram first because that will help us answer the questions. So let me make this a little bit smaller and move it out of the way for the moment. And let's do a Venn diagram. To make a Venn, you need to draw two circles. Let me see if I can do it on, oh yes, okay. And I'm going to draw another one, just like that one. Same size, just like that one, but I want them to overlap. So take a second and draw yourself a diagram similar to this one. This is called a Venn. VENN. A Venn diagram. And sometimes you'll see these on a test where you have to read them. Rather than draw them, you have to be able to understand them. So using what we know about kangaroos and wallabies, I want to first of all fill in things that the two animals have in common. And that's going to go here where the circles overlap. So the passage told us that both animals are native to Australia. Another word that fits that would be indigenous. Both are indigenous to Australia. Let me just use that word because it's a word that you see sometimes on science tests. Indigenous. Oh, that's pitiful. Means that they are naturally found there. Indigenous to Australia. And that is true of both the kangaroo and the wallaby. It told us that both eat plants and grass. So they're herbivores. They do not eat meat. And if you want to use the word herbivore, that is true for both the wallaby and the kangaroo. And the other thing that's true is they are both marsupials. And what is a marsupial? That means that they carry babies in pouches. What are those babies called? Joeys. And that's true for both the kangaroo and the wallaby. So in this section of the diagram, we are looking at how they are alike. So anything that goes in here is a comparison. It's a likeness. Both of them fit the description. And this will always be true with a Venn. Anything in this middle section is going to be how the two things are alike. Okay, on this side, I'm going to put kangaroo. So this part of the circle is true only for kangaroos. Now they tell me that kangaroos are bigger than wallabies. They weigh much more than wallabies. Kangaroos have those long, strong legs that they bounce on. And because they bounce on those long, strong legs, they have a long, strong tail. That tail helps them to balance. And kangaroos like open spaces. They bounce across open areas, open fields. Wallabies, on the other hand, are smaller. They have shorter tails and ears. Kangaroos are out in the open space. They need those big ears to hear far away. Wallabies eat a more varied diet. Kangaroos eat a lot of grass, but wallabies can get more varied diets because they like to live in forests. And in Australia, there is bushland where they have shrubs and that sort of thing. Wallabies are more prone to be found in those areas. And I believe that's everything. But this Venn diagram is a very good way to organize your thoughts about comparing and contrasting. Anytime you do comparing and contrasting, this is a really good way to set up a mental picture of what you're learning. So let me make this smaller. I'm going to go ahead and just copy it and delete this one, and then paste it in as a picture so it won't separate on me. And I'm going to make it smaller, I think, and just bring it right over here until we answer our questions. But I think doing that diagram will help us answer these questions, if I can make it all fit in here. Okay. The first part tells me to write true or false for each statement. Number 1, a wallaby, let me bring this down a little bit and we'll just make good use of it. A wallaby is larger than a kangaroo. That is a false statement. And you could fix it by changing the word larger to smaller. A wallaby is smaller than a kangaroo. Number 2, wallabies and kangaroos often share homes. Well, we know that they are both indigenous to Australia, but do they live in the same homes? They do not. Remember, wallabies like bushland and forest. Kangaroos like open spaces. So they don't live together. Number 3, a wallaby has shorter ears than a kangaroo. That is a true statement. Number 4, only wallabies live in Australia. That is a false statement. Both wallabies and kangaroos live in Australia. Kangaroos and wallabies eat plants. That is a true statement. They are both herbivores. They eat plants and grasses, although the wallabies eat a little bit more varied diet. They still just eat plants. For each description, write kangaroo, wallaby, or both. This one has shorter ears and tails. That is a wallaby. Marsupials. Remember, that's the animal that has a pouch. That is both. Live in Australia. Again, that is a commonality of the two animals. Live in open spaces. That is a kangaroo. Eat grass. That's that word herbivore. That is both wallaby and kangaroo. Uses a long tail to balance. That is a kangaroo. This one was not in the passage specifically. One is a little bit tricky. But both wallabies and kangaroos hop on their back legs. And let me show you how I know that. Here is a picture of a wallaby. And I can tell that because the tail is shorter. The ears are shorter. There's the joey. But look at how this creature is standing. It's standing on its back legs. So use the pictures to help you with these questions. That is a both. The one that has longer ears and tails, those would be kangaroos. We're going to be experts on these two animals. Do not eat meat. Those are both. Meat eaters are called carnivores. These animals are plant eaters. At the zoo, Dimitri sees an animal hopping on her strong back legs. Okay, that's really not much help because we know that both of them hop on back legs. She has a baby in her pouch. She has a very long tail and long ears. She is munching on a clump of grass. The sign beside her habitat says native or indigenous to Australia. Dimitri is most likely looking at a blank. Would it be a kangaroo or a wallaby? It's that yellow phrase that helps me. A very long tail and long ears. That is most likely a kangaroo. So here are some examples of how they can ask you questions about compare and contrast passages. Again, this scaffold never changes. Think through those things on any passage you read. But once you get into the keywords and the way the passage is written, then you get into some specific types of questions like these. And a Venn diagram will always go with compare and contrast.